Hi, I'm Dominic Ma with Nerds of Color and Hard Knock Media, and I'm here today with Tze Chun and Brendan Hay to talk about Gremlins: The Wild Batch, which is the second season of the animated Gremlins show, which is coming out on Max really soon. It's really nice to meet you today. How's it going?
It's good.
Awesome.
Like, nice to
Great.
meet you as well.
Great. I don't think we got to interview about the first season. Can you talk a little bit just how this Gremlins came to be? Because I'm not sure if I'm not wrong. Is it the first time it's revisited
hmm
since the original Amblin movies? And
hmm
how you came to it?
hmm
Yeah, this really started as conversations between Amblin and Warner Brothers, Sam Register and Steven Spielberg talking about, how to do a Gremlins prequel series to tell the story of um, the young Mr. Wing in 1920s China. And I came in to pitch on it. I had been a huge Gremlins fan, and yeah, my take on it was I just wanted to do something that really had the DNA of the Amblin movies that I grew up
hmm
watching. Something that was a big epic adventure. And very quickly we brought on Brendan and put together a writer's room, and yeah, we were off to the races. And this was really a dream project for both of us.
Yeah.
We both were traumatized by Gremlins when we
Hmm.
were too young to watch it, and we hope that we will traumatize generations to come
Ah, the dream.
with this TV show.
Yeah, that microwave bit, right?
Yeah,
Brent, you worked on Robot Chicken, is that right?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, please tell me about your how you came to the Gremlins world.
Yeah, thankfully, yeah, so humongous fan. I like to credit my love of horror really started with seeing the original Gremlins movie in the theater at too young an age, and a lot of my comedy, like what I find funny, was influenced frankly by Gremlins 2, seeing that at probably the exactly right age.
Mm.
Um, So this is something a franchise I've always loved, characters I would always in a world I'd always want to play in. Thankfully, I'd had a nice mix of time in both kids and adult animation, and Gremlins kind of lands right between both. Like you said, is that Robot Chicken? But also years ago, I wrote for a show on Nickelodeon called The Mighty Bee, where I met an executive named Audrey Deal, who is part of the one of the our exec on our show from Warner Brothers Animation, trying to put this all together. I was just catching up with her once, and this is like the only time in my career this has actually worked. She
Hmm.
just mentioned that we might be doing some shows with Amblin soon. And I, before she got anything else, I'm like, if it's Gremlins, I want in. I just kind of like shouted and blurted at her. Thankfully, that actually worked instead of her being like, no. So she's like, oh, you should meet Z. And yeah, we hit it off and been happily involved ever since.
Marvelous. Yeah, you alluded to it already. Not everyone knows Gremlins 2 is a wildly funny, exceptional sequel that is
Yeah,
pretty different from the original. I'm already
absolutely.
sensing a little bit of that in that your Gremlins takes a departure, maybe a big leap in the style of humor and the ambiance of it. So you know what I mean? And you allude to it in that what was it called? Gremlins 2, the new batch, and this is
hmm
called the Wild Batch, which to me also sounds like the Western thing.
Yeah.
Can you talk? Is there a conscious thought about the sequel being uh way different than the
Absolutely.
first? Or yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the great things of us getting to work with Joe Dante, who made the original films, he's always said that he wanted to make sure the sequel was its own thing, that it wasn't just like, oh, here's another version of the movie you liked. So we wanted to do the same thing with the show. This was, the first season did the hard thing of reestablishing the tone, introducing our cast. So this was our chance to really run with it and go weirder and wilder and use the fact that we're a TV series to explore what is the kind of like either specific characters or weirder tangents of our world, we could do it here. So yeah, it's any chance to be like Gremlins 2 is a good thing in my book.
Want to speak on
Well,
the
I think to echo what Brendan said, Gremlins 2 is bigger, wild. I mean, hopefully, if you haven't seen it yet, you have to watch the Key and Peele sketch for Gremlins 2.
okay,
Um, but that's something we watch in the writer's room
great.
a- many, many times. And just wanting to up the ante, wanting to create a story that was not just bigger with bigger set pieces, crazier hijinks, a new location, but also to go deeper with some of the emotional aspects and characters who maybe were not as explored as fully in season one, really giving them their own stories and making sure that those characters were really present and influenced the character journeys for Sam, Elle, and Gizmo.
Yeah. That's great. So I did get to talk with the cast members a little bit, and I asked them about the Chinese mythology aspect, which I feel is intensified in this animated Gremlins. Ming-Na said something like in the original movies that the Chinese culture and mythos tropes were like the parentheses, and this is sort of filling it out. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that, because to me it's very cool. There's Chinese and Chinese American fantasy tropes that come into Gremlins.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was a kid, I certainly like locked in on the Key Luke character of the old Mr. Wing. I think simply because there was so little representation at that time that I was kind of like, oh, this is interesting. I wonder who this guy is. And he's also right. I mean, he's right about everything. Everything he warns everybody about 1 minute into the movie comes true. And it was really a joy to be able to take that, very small character who shows up in the beginning and the end of that movie and really create like a deep dive into who that character is. And then also use it as an entryway into this really interesting time in China, and also, be able to introduce American audiences to Chinese creatures and spirits from, the mythology that I grew up hearing about. And in season two, we marry that mythology with the mythology of the Old West, which
Hmm.
is also very mysterious. And the first half of season two really takes place in San Francisco. We get a little bit of like Alcatraz and some supernatural stuff there, but in the back half of the season, we really get to play like a greatest hits of like American tall tales and mythology. And it was really fun to be able to really make a show that's not just about the stuff that I grew up hearing about from my Chinese relatives, but also the stuff I grew up hearing about in school, in American school.
Cool. I think it's working really well. Okay, we have to wrap up soon. Really quick, what are your favorite karaoke songs, if you have any? What? Oh,
Cheap Trick.
He froze right when he was gonna do.
did you say?
What was your answer? What was
Sorry,
your answer?
one more
Yeah.
time. Cheap Trickies.
Yes. Yeah, Cheap Trick. Surrender by Cheap Trick is my go-to song.
Cool.
Any favorite song I have that I sing out loud will become everybody's least favorite song after that. So, that's my answer.
Fair enough. Fair enough. The one part that got me was that I don't think a Chinese person would come up with the don't eat after midnight rule. Everything else is Mexican. That just doesn't seem like something, because that is the part to
That's
me
fair.
that sounds like it was a hybrid.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. It's well, it's one of the gods fucking with people.
Or it could be that. It could be like a
Yeah.
Prometheus hubris thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I dare you to try to follow this rule.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's a good observation. No, that's
no, I
very
just
true.
no, because otherwise I think it's like one to one, not one to one. It's like Star Wars, it's like a remix of East Asian trope stuff. Is it not? If I
Yeah.
way off like that?
Yeah, pretty
Okay,
much.
that being expressly so. Great. Well, thanks a lot. And good luck with everything.
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Likewise.
Thanks for making
Really
it.
appreciate it.
Lectures, fanboys, professional artists, and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me. The hard knock life, comics, movies, and TV. Yeah, pop culture with a different perspective. Watch it on your screen, hit play, so check this.